All rise for the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Alvarez.
Present.
Councilman Larka.
Here.
Councilman Lord.
Here.
Councilman O'Connor.
Here.
Supervisor Hay.
Here. Notation exits in the front and the rear. An electronic device, please put it on vibrate. Make a motion to come out of the executive session. No action was taken.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to go into the work session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
First item on the agenda this evening, discussion 577 North Main LLC special permit.
Good evening, Bart Lansky for 577 North Main LLC.
You can bring it down for you,
Okay, thank you.
even further if you want. And just briefly explain to the...
Okay, sorry.
And just briefly explain to the public where 577 North Main is. And you can advertise for local businesses at the same time.
So obviously that's a Google map, and you can see 577 North Main at the center of the map. It's, I think, around 800 feet down the road from Kobackers. Many people know that place. And it backs up onto the Metro North maintenance yard.
Good, thank you. And your application is for a special permit.
Yes. We're here this evening for a special use permit for a kennel in an economic development zone. We have a tenant, a proposed tenant, who is here with me tonight, Shelby Lynn Sky. Also to the left of Shelby is Barry Haytoff, who's my partner on this project. The tenant has a proposed indoor space of around 3,600 square feet. I provided plans to the board. I assume you have that in your package showing where it's located. And there is a post outdoor dog run, which is shown on this map a little clearer here. It's shown in orange there on that survey. So it's just a fenced-in area. We've been to the ARB. They approved a chain link fence for this area. It's just to allow the dogs out during the day. They do their business outside, obviously, but most of the time, the dogs are inside the facility. There's a large room where they do agility exercises. So this is kind of a specialized agility and obedience training. Your code has the closest use we have, which the building inspector defined this as, is the kennel. There is an intention to have dogs stay overnight. The application is for no more than 50 dogs to be at the premises at one time. And I think it's a favorable location for this because, as you see, it being to the rear of the building, we're really just backing up to the maintenance yard. The closest residential house is some 400 feet away up North Main, and any sound would have to bounce off something and go back over the building, which is at center some odd 34 feet. I don't think there's any way you're going to get any noise up on North Main. And the only residences behind it, Eagle Ridge is some 1,100 feet away. So we think it's a great location for this. We think it's well thought out. We understand the code has a noise ordinance, and we've done mitigatory measures inside the building. The entire space has acoustical tile. The vast majority of the space has about 9 inches of open cell spray foam above that for both thermal and acoustical qualities. And all the demising walls go full height and are going to be fully sealed. So we're not expecting any noise to reach the adjoining spaces. We're not expecting to have any deleterious outside effects. The most adjacent structure here is what we were here in front of the board for in January. It's the motor vehicle service station for Express Taxi.
Where is that located down there?
They are located right here at the Quonset hut. But the majority, we don't expect there to be any impact on their business. And the customers will come through the front door off of North Main in general, so we don't expect there to be any interaction between the customers per se and the motor vehicle service station.
You ready for some skepticism?
I'm sorry?
You ready for some skepticism?
I'm actually all full up this evening.
Up to 50 dogs.
Yeah, so your code allows you to limit the number of dogs. That certainly doesn't mean that there's any intention to have 50 dogs there all the time. This is an ongoing business. It's currently run out of a house in Connecticut. It's about a 2,000 square foot facility, and she has up to 35, high 30s, sometimes at that facility. So that facility will be closed down. She has a specialized business, and she may want to talk more about it, but she picks up individual dogs for specific purposes, for certain training, for things like that. So while their customers sometimes go away on a vacation and will have their dog there for several days, in general, the facility is used for training purposes.
Okay, you've come to us, this will be the second permit you've come forward for. How many spaces are available on that site? Have you broken it down? How many spaces will be overall?
Okay, so my current planning board application, I have,
I don't say who, but how many?
well, just to be clear, there is the special use permit that you're aware of for Express Taxi. I have 2 conditional use permits on my same site plan, which I'm asking for approval. One is for outside storage for mobile steam, and the other one is for a warehouse use, which is a conditional use permit under your code.
And you haven't come for, have you come for those 2 yet?
I'm in front of the planning board, but I don't need to come in front of the town board for those. Those are conditional use. So, but it's all part of this site plan application, because until I have this approval, I won't get back in front of the planning board and get my final approvals for these 4 tenants. So I have 4 tenants backed up on this meeting, and then I have about 2 or 3 empty spaces left, depending on how they split up.
Now, how do your current occupants feel about having that many dogs barking in the back and things of that nature?
Well, as I said, we don't expect any noise to be penetrating the internal spaces, and the Express Taxi guy will be happy to conduct his business. As I know you were there, essentially they repair cars a couple days a week inside. There's no work done outside. We don't expect any interaction between the dogs and a guy changing his tires occasionally.
How much square footage on that space?
Her space is 3,600 indoors, and I believe it's around 1,800 square foot outdoors proposed.
I mean, someone new coming in and they hear the dogs, they'll just say, they'll go somewhere else, but the ones that are there will be a concern.
Well, certainly that's why we've done the mitigatory measures we have. So we don't expect there to have an issue. So the building is also, the way it's constructed, there's a primary building, a 1947 CMU building with precast panels and structural steel, which has a 2-story section for offices and a longer 1-story section, which is about 220 feet long. And then at various times, they built certain shed roofs. So we have 14-foot ceilings under that, what I call Building 1, which go up to precast panels, which now have a gable on top, which have a lot of additional airspace up there. So there's nothing going on above there. She's actually at the break between that space and the 2-story space, so there's no interaction with the 2-story space. So in the Building 1, I really only have 1 wall, which is a new wall, and it's fully sealed in between, portions of it are new. And it's fully sealed in between her and the one adjacent tenant there. And then she kind of tees behind the space. Now, this section has like shed roofs, and all of that has been spray foamed and cleaned up, and all has acoustic ceilings, and there's nobody above it, and there's no expectation of there ever being anyone above it. So I really think it's an ideal location for this.
Approximately how many employees will she have?
I think she has 3 employees right now, and I'm expecting her business to grow modestly. But she can probably answer, but probably another 2 people in time.
Because parking will probably not be a problem, because people would drop off the dogs. That's the only good thing in your favor thus far, is the parking.
I think I have a couple other things, but but frankly, we're
know
not
about
expecting
mine.
any parking impact.
This is really a day operation, with the exception of the overnight boarding. So what are we talking about, from like 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., or,
Yeah.
I mean,
Around 4 o'clock.
4 a.m.?
8 to 4 p.m.
Oh, okay.
And, sorry.
No, please.
Come up, why don't you come up
Yeah.
and speak, please? State your name for the record.
Shelby Reynolds, how you guys doing? I have a fear of public speaking, so I apologize.
We do too.
We hike currently 10 dogs off leash outside in the woods regularly. So the reason we need an indoor space is because of the ticks, the increase of the tick population, which none of the employees want to have Lyme disease, and we don't want the dogs going home to their families to carry those into the children and the family, or the dogs getting Lyme disease. So we needed an indoor space so we can do fitness inside with agility. These dogs right now are wonderful. They are not as loud as I think you may think. We are inside of a residential area right now. Unfortunately, we're trying to get out of there, and I've never gotten a noise complaint. My neighbors, they love the dogs. They don't hear them. They don't bark. The reason, I don't want to say they don't bark, but they're not loud. The reason that they are so well behaved is because of how much we work with them. For us to hike with 10 dogs off leash in the woods with, deers, turkeys, any other thing we may encounter, they have to be very well trained. So if they can come from a deer running, they know the word quiet very well. And we take real good measures to make sure that they're not a nuisance to the people around us, because we really just want to be as happy as you guys. At home, they're not barking out of control either. So we like to make the warehouse that we're moving into, as we want to make it a home environment as well as a fitness environment, so they feel comfortable that they're not in an overran kennel setting. The reason we have to board our dogs is because of the amount of training we do with them to make sure they don't run off on us while they're off leash for the fitness. So that is why. It is actually one of my least favorite things to do is board dogs. The training is the best part, but they are awesome to have in the house. They do not drive me crazy. Personally, I have a newborn baby that sleeps beautifully through the night while we have 30 dogs right under him. So that's all I have to say. If you have any questions, I'm pretty good.
I'm trying to understand, when you board the dogs at night, is it just, I'm going away on vacation, or you're boarding them because you're training them for me, and then you have to hold on to the dog for the 2 days or the week or whatever?
So yes, around holidays, a lot of my clientele is based out of Westchester, Lower Westchester. So when they go away on vacation for like 5 to 7 days, that's when we board them. When we have dogs for boarding school, because we do offer boarding school, we do offer a 2-week package or even a 4-week package. But in that case, unless I have an excessive amount, which is typically no more than 4 at a time, because I want to make sure that they're
That was my next
behaved.
question. What are we talking about?
It's like 4 at a time,
Okay.
just because they're puppies and they don't know how to be quiet. But they're really little barks compared to a large Connie Corso, large, massive dog. But they come with me to my actual residence where I live, so that they can have the 24-hour trainer package that the client is paying for. But as far as how many training puppies would I have at a time, it would be about 4. We don't currently have 50 dogs that we board at once, because that is a lot of dogs, but we are going to be bringing in more staff. I'm currently training about 4 new staff members, and it takes a long time to train them. So I'm training them anticipating getting into the space. So by the time we get in there, we're ready to go and everybody's ready. The new space that we're going to be in, we have to train the dogs in the space so they're comfortable as well, so that they are quiet as expected. But I'm not nervous about them barking personally, because because we, like I said, most of our business is outside for winter seasons, as the middle of the summer is really when the ticks die down. It's just spring is terrible for us, and the beginning of fall, that's when we'll really be in there. And on an average day, we currently are hiking anywhere between 10 to 18 dogs at a time. So I don't want to take more than 20 a day, and it's broken up between myself and my partner. So that's really where we are.
How long is the training schedule? Is there like a minimum, maximum per dog? Like, in other words, if I'm a client and I come in, you can get a 1 week package, 2 week package, 3 week package? What's the minimum, maximum?
So the minimum package is 2 weeks, just because it would take the first week to break any bad behaviors and the second week to learn new behaviors. So it really just depends on which package you choose, so 2 week, 3 week, or 4 week. And each package offers something different. If I have a dog for 4 weeks, they are not staying at a facility, they would be staying in my home. And like I said, for the most part, they're there during the day, but they would not be staying there overnight just because they need to be with the main trainer 24 hours. So I take my career very seriously. I'm a little bit of a control freak.
Well, the way I look at it, I've been a businessman for many, many years, but if the person owns a property, wants to do that, I probably wouldn't say no. I don't believe the dogs aren't going to be barking and can't be heard.
Everybody's entitled. I'm not trying to offer. I'm not trying to guarantee there's not going to be a few barks here and then.
There'd be more
but
than a few.
All of my dogs are trained to the word quiet. And like I said, we are running in a residential, boarding a residential area, so we have to remain quiet.
In your residence area, how close are you to the nearest home?
Say it again?
How close are you to the nearest home where you currently are now?
It's an acre. It's like we have an acre in between us.
Wow.
Yeah. And they have dogs. My neighbor's dogs are louder. Their dogs are louder than when I have 15 to 20 dogs in my house. We will get rid of dogs. We have 2.
Well, maybe they should be trained by you.
Yes, they should, but it's too close to home.
Anyone else here on the board want to ask some questions?
I have no questions.
Will you be building the space to your client's specifications?
Yeah, it'll
And-
be virtually turnkey. I mean, fortunately, the space, I believe, is well suited. There's an existing gang shower area which you can use for grooming. I don't know what the original use of that was, but it's been there for a long time. And the other outside walls are pretty much there, but it all needs to be cleaned up. There was some condition issues in the building before it was purchased.
And I'm not sure what the licensing or requirements are. Will a Board of Health kind of inspection need to be done to make sure it's suitable for kenneling the animals?
I don't believe so, but I'm not sure.
I don't know either.
I haven't
should have asked this
heard
at-
of that. You know, I'm very familiar with the Board of Health for when you're serving food, but I haven't.
And certificates of occupancy for people. I'm just wondering if something similar to that is required for kenneling dogs.
I'm not aware of that. No.
Okay, I'm not either. Do you know, Will?
There's no specific regulations, but the state code for building occupancy and maintenance would apply. So if for instance, the tenant failed to maintain their premises, say that there was an overflow of manure or whatever, our building code officers could cite them.
Okay, yeah, I was more concerned for the health of the animals and making sure that coming into this facility is going to be successful for them as well.
Yeah.
I'm trying to learn something, that's all.
Yeah, well, we're obviously very optimistic, and I know the space is going to be built out well, and I believe we have a very good operator.
Cool.
We have a lot of faith in it. And
John, the other thing I could offer, since they are applying for a special permit, there are possibly the board, this board, imposing certain conditions requiring, regular maintenance, manure removal, in the event that there are noise
Yeah, I think that,
anomalies that we can require them to be ameliorated, things like that, and that can be built into the special permit, if
Well-
those are your concerns.
if I
I
may,
think it's already in the
yeah, the noise.
code.
You already have the noise ordinance there. The one thing which does show up, and your council is aware of, is with these type of facilities, if somebody doesn't have a good rotation on the garbage can, in the summertime, you can have an odor. But we believe that we've
Yeah, and the
have
code
that covered.
enforcement officers shall retain the right to inspect the animal waste storage and
Exactly.
at any time. So we are protected. I was just wondering about the conditions of the space in advance of the arrival of the,
One of the fortunate things is her space is almost all slab on grade, right? So we have a solid concrete floor from the 1940s that no one would have installed today. And that's going to be all cleaned up and sealed and in good shape. And then she has mats which go on top of that. And then you have new acoustics and LED lights, and it's all clean and good space. So
Bart, there was a lot of issues brought up at the planning board about, not for this application at all, but just some of the issues on the property. Have those all been cleaned up?
Well, at the last planning board meeting, Mr. LaPerche brought up a couple of things. And I believe those have been cleaned up since that time. I followed up with him and sent him photos, and we had a visit from the building inspector, and I believe everyone was satisfied.
Okay, thank you.
How about the storage and disposal of waste?
So there's going to be, right near the back of this here, there's going to be a 2-yard can, which is going to be picked up.
A 2-yard what?
2-yard can, garbage can?
Garbage
Dumpster.
Right?
Okay.
So,
Is it gonna be in plastic bags or raw waste?
well, the waste will go into plastic bags and then go into the dumpster. So it'll be twice sealed, and then it'll be picked up 3 times a week.
These are kind of like things that I guess the planning board would ask. We're just asking. Now, hours of operation, is it 7 days a week?
So yeah, it is. It is 7 days a week, and it is 24 hours a day. Not that there's going to be customers 24 hours a day, but there may be dogs and there may be people in the space 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
Okay. Well, I know the dogs would be. I'm just wondering. So they're open to the public 7 days a week?
And if there's dogs there, I think she's going to have an attendant with the dogs.
Yeah, but that's not open to the public, right?
That's not open to the public. Right now, her
Hours of operation, you can still run.
Yeah. So right now, she only has members of the public come between 8 and 4, but I wouldn't want to limit her times per se. I don't think there's any issues with traffic, people coming at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock if her business changes somehow. If she needs to extend a courtesy to a particular client.
Can anyone on the board think anything they'd want written in the special permit?
It's the perfect area. You're behind the Metro North, there's the garage. I mean, I just don't see why, it's not like there's neighbors on either side or anything, so to speak.
Yeah, I agree.
Nothing on my end.
Thank you.
I'm sure, I know the building from a few years ago when I was inspecting it, and I'm sure a lot of things were addressed. Quite a few things, right?
I'd love for you to come see it today.
Yeah, I'd
'Cause
actually be interested in
it's-
checking it out, because I know what the issues were, say, let's call it 4 years ago, so.
Yeah, well, it's about 34,000 square foot of building, and we did about 30,000 feet of roof, figuring we were done, but now the last 4,000 feet is leaking, so I have one more building permit application and one more A or B meeting to go to do that last section. So pretty much everything.
I would like to see a tenant there,
Yeah, we're trying, and we're finding some new tenants, and we're going through the process and hoping to get through as soon as possible.
Okay, it's a public hearing. Anyone for the public? Now you've heard this issue.
Yeah,
Oh, that's right. Oh, that's right. That's next week.
A work session.
I would love for us to waive the public hearing since the planning board had a public hearing.
No.
Yeah, I don't think we can do
We're
that.
going to set a public hearing for 2 weeks from this evening.
Okay? Thank you.
Okay? Jumped the gun, sorry. I know you're in a hurry. Just trying to help.
Well, I have tenants who would like to occupy their space, and without this, I can't be back at planning board. So I have 4 tenants now who are waiting.
So we're going to set a public hearing this evening for the 19th.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions here? Okay, thank you for coming this evening.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You too? Number 2, discussion town highway superintendent, update on the department and your 284 agreement. Wow. You got rid of the whole crowd.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
Good.
I sent up to Tony a copy of the 284 agreement for a few roads that we're going to be adjusting the pavement on this year. Some of these numbers are going to change because the bid spec has not been approved yet by either Putnam County or Peckham hasn't accepted, well, Peckham put the bid out, but nobody's accepted the bid yet on the cost of blacktop. So these numbers may change a little bit. Also on Tenetta Lake Way, there's some drainage issues that have arisen, so we're going to be dealing with that. So that number is going to change a little bit, but other than that, I think we're pretty close on the numbers. Things are going really well. We're going to finish up tomorrow the replacement of the drainage on Maple, the Carmel end of Maple Road. We're going to pave that this year from Sheck Pools to where the dirt starts. And I have a meeting next week with DEP to address the issue of possibly putting millings on the dirt section there. And that's about it. Things are going really well. We've accomplished a tremendous amount of work, and with the weather being like this, it's been great. We've been able to get a lot done. Any questions?
Mike, you had spoke to me and made me aware of something I had not heard anywhere about the CHIPS funding maybe being discontinued. Can you tell the board?
Yeah,
what's being
I
planned?
went to a rally in Albany yesterday. That, every year that pretty much the state plays the game with they want to take the funding away. So we all go up there and we met with a few of the constituents up there. Met with Kevin Byrne. Advocating for they need to understand how important this money is, and also the extreme winter recovery money that they had. They started that like 4 or 5 years ago, and they assumed that it was because of big snowstorms. And a year like this is actually worse for the roads than if we get cold weather and it stays cold. But the constant freeze-thaw cycles that we've been getting, even if it's 20 degrees for a couple days, the top couple inches freezes, then it thaws out, then it freezes again, then it thaws out. So the pavement is constantly moving, and what was one of the programs that they wanted to try to start cutting back on. So we're really pushing to try to keep that extreme winter recovery and also the Pave New York money. So I met with Kevin and spoke with him, and hopefully we'll get some answers soon.
Is there any kind of a memorializing resolution that's out there that we can send up to Albany? And
No, I
support?
don't. Right now, I think it was just one of those. It's one of those things that they pretty much do every year. That the state threatens to cut funding and everything else. And I was with members of the Putnam County Highway Department and other towns in Putnam County. And being this is my first time at Albany, this is one of the things that they do every year. They I think they play it up for publicity. Everybody wants to get their picture in the paper, and
I didn't see you.
you may. I was up there, but hopefully the increase, as long as we can keep our funding that we're getting, because right now it's such a hard thing. Most of these towns depend on the CHIPS money for paving. That's a lot of towns are in the same boat. So if it stays relatively the same, at least you have a baseline that you can go by to know how much money you're going to have. But if it starts fluctuating, then it becomes an issue that we may end up paving less, or if we get more money, we'll be able to pave more. But for right now, it's hopefully it's going to stay stable.
And for our town, it's about $125,000 to $200,000.
Yeah,
In
yeah,
that
it's,
range.
depending on, you know, the ranges. And then the paved New York is, you know, that's usually around 30,000 in that area. And then the extreme winter recovery, we usually get some money from there. So hopefully we'll, you know, we can break the 200,000 threshold. And this is a little bit more than 200,000, so we may end up having to go into the fund balance to finish these up. But, you know, now Tenetta Lake Way, just so you're aware, Tenetta Lake Way was a dirt road, and that was paved. It's only been paved once, and it was paved in 1998. So it's held up from 1998 until now. And, you know, it's all intact. It's got some cracks in it, but the road itself is intact. The profile is good. So it should be you know, if we pave it again, do a 2-inch overlay on it, it should be, you know, another 20 years out. You know, we're going to address the drainage issues. And I think, you know, it'll last another 20 years. We should be in good shape.
Just one of the questions that came up is this all you have for us for this year? Or, you know, as things come up, you'll just come back to
Well,
us?
just so,
Or-
you know,
or
I'm not
is
sure
this
if
it for now?
I'm not sure if everybody's aware of on the board, but the Welfare Road Culvert Project, that's a job that we're undertaking ourselves. So I don't want to overcommit to the amount of paving we're going to be able to do. Usually we pave for 2 months, the month of July, and, you know, in years past we paved July and August. These roads that I have here are would not take 2 months, so there would be a possibility. But I'm assuming, I'm anticipating that the Welfare Road job is probably gonna take anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. And that's gonna start, I have to really wanna concentrate on trying to get that done while school is closed, because we have to divert traffic around Welfare Road, close it completely while we're doing that job. Just to give you an update on that, I met with Tom Fenton today. We've picked a concrete vendor that's gonna build the products for us. I'm gonna be in contact with them tomorrow, and hopefully they'll send us a contract that we can, because if we sign a contract within the next week or two, they're looking at a possibility of delivering, you know, the first possible delivery date would be around the 15th of June. So if we don't do something soon, we may miss that July, the beginning of July threshold. So I've been working with Tom and you know, trying to really get this thing nailed down so we got the vendor picked. They have to do shop drawings that we have to send to HVAA and also to our town engineer to have approval of the shop drawings. That takes like 4 weeks for them to do that. So it's, you know, time is of the essence right now. Right now I have all the, I've accumulated all the signage for closing the road. So we're really ahead of the curve right now. The concrete products are the biggest thing. You know, so for the next week or so, if we sign the contract with them, we should be right on target to be in July and get that road taken care of.
And Mike, why don't you make the board aware too of something of a past practice where this year you would do drainage on a road possibly and then pave it the following year? Is that something?
Yeah, we're behind on that, so that's why I'm doing the drainage on Maple Road now in anticipation of paving it in May or June. We're also doing drainage on Tenetta Lake Road. There's some metal culvert pipes on that road that have to be replaced.
Now clarify
And
the
then-
Maple Road so they know. I don't get all these emails saying, what are you guys doing?
It's only the pavement, the paved section of Maple Road. We're not doing
The
anything.
currently paved
The
section
currently
only
paved
at the
section
present
of
time.
Maple Road. We're over there now replacing the drainage. We're not gonna be doing anything on the dirt section of Maple Road. You know,
At this time.
At this time, you know, we're working on that. And then also the Tenetta Lake Road, and my goal is to, after this paving season is over with, hopefully in September, I'm gonna be able to pick a few roads that we're gonna pave next year, and we're gonna go out and replace the drainage this year, so we can try to get ahead of it, because it's always nice to let it sit for a year, because if it settles, you don't wanna end up with a bump in the road. It takes a lot more time and material to compact it properly so you can pave over it without having it settle. So it's just a, you know, better practice to be able to do it the year before and then pave the following year. And also, I'm working on right now a proposal for Brewster Heights. I'm putting some numbers together on replacing the drainage and paving on each individual road. because there's a lot of drainage issues up there, and now there's sewer, there's water, there's gas, there's, you know, it's a real complex area, because a lot of that stuff was added, the sewer was added later, the gas was added later, so it's gonna be a little bit more, and we're changing, we have to change where the drainage is on Brewster Heights. The two pieces that go down in between the houses from Allen down to Bloomer, we're gonna eliminate those so it doesn't go between the houses. And we have to redirect that water from the center of Allen Road, part of it to North Road, and then the other part of it down to Wilson. So there's some, you know, there's some drainage issues up there that we need to deal with, but I'm working on a plan right now to give you guys some numbers on the individual roads and what it's gonna cost to get that project done up there.
Do you know when you think you might be doing that?
I'm gonna plan on starting that next year.
Good.
I wanna start on, at least start on one of the roads. You know, there's 6 or 7 roads up there. It could,
Yeah.
you know, it could take a long time, you know, because it's gonna be, one road up there could take longer than a month, just because of the, you know, the complexity to the drainage issues that we have up there.
Is any consideration be given to Lincoln Road to make it not quite as wide as it currently is?
Yes, actually, I have a plan that was drawn up by the town engineer. That's, a lot of those intersections up there are gonna be narrowed down, you know, because a lot of them are really wide. And a lot of those intersections are gonna be narrowed down and made more conventional intersections where the radius of the curves are not as big. So the intersections are not gonna be as, you know, as big and not as much pavement to deal with. So,
Welfare Road is already funded, right?
Yes.
yes, yeah, that welfare
That's-
road, the welfare road job is
Great grant.
funded.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a grant for that, so that's, you know,
And so are there, after you do everything that you've looked for in this 284 agreement, is there a balance still that could be used for other, or are we?
Yes.
Okay.
yeah, we have a fund balance, that we're, you know, if time permits, when this welfare road job is done, then, you know, I mean, there's plenty of other roads, and I'll come before you again.
Good.
And, you know, we may have to do a transfer of the fund balance to get some more paving done. But, you know, I just don't want to overcommit this year.
As Mike brings forward these proposals, he brings it basically to my office.
Right.
We bring them, then Ron and I will discuss it before we present to the board. We'll take existing funds and also, depending on the cost of the project, possibly bond a portion of it as well, but we'll
But
provide you,
there's a balance to
there's
to
money
use at
there,
this
but
point.
not to do all the roads in this town, but
Yeah.
there's money there.
Yeah, you know, we just, you know, the whole goal is to try to get as much done with the money that we have without having to go out to a bond. You know, that's my goal for Brewster Heights, is if we can peck away at that a little bit at a time, you know, we can really save a lot of money and you know, because if you send that out, that could be, you know, that could cost millions of dollars to do a project like that. But if we, you know, stretch it out and do it pieces at a time.
I think the first estimate, I think was around $8 million, wasn't that?
So
Yeah,
we're a
it's
long
a
way
lot of
from
money.
having to bond at this point.
No, it's around the corner, but I don't know what corner it is and what year it's gonna happen, but we will do the best we can.
Yeah.
But at some point in time, to get things done, we may have to go out and bond.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I know, I spoke to Rich Almer at the town of Kent. He just, last year, they just approved a bond for $1 million for road improvements. You know, my goal is to, you know, hopefully not have to do that in the near future. Just, you know, as long as the funding keeps coming from the state and we, you know, keep as much of it in-house as we can. You know, I appreciate the new equipment that you got us. It's gonna make our life easy. We're gonna be able to get a lot more work done. And we'll just move on from there.
Sonetta Lake Road, is it possible to get 22 feet wide on that?
Well, it's an average.
Okay.
That's an average. I went up there and I measured that road. It's an average of 22 feet. There's spots where it's only 18.
Yeah.
But there's spots where it's a little bit wider.
And we'll be using, or hopefully there'll be lining that as well,
Yeah.
a center line,
Yeah.
because that's a scary.
That's it. The only problem with that is with the state law is you have to have a 9-foot, you have to have a 9-foot wide road. We may be able to do a single yellow line on that road. I'm gonna have to look into that, but if you do a double yellow line, if the lane is under 9 feet wide, it becomes a liability for the town if there's an accident. That's the only concern I have about that, because the roadway needs to be a minimum of 9 feet wide.
Now, when you
So-
say Tenet Lake Road, is that from basically the Triangle House
From
to
the
Meridian?
Triangle House up to
Meridian?
Meridian.
Is there gonna be any thought to do something about that rock cropping on the right-hand side coming from the triangle?
Well, from the federal surplus, I bought a rock hammer that chips the rock away.
Okay,
And this new machine, this new excavator that we're getting, they're gonna deliver, next week. That hammer will go on that machine, so I'm hoping to be able to go over there, depending on how hard the rock is. I'm hoping to be able to go over there and chip some of that rock out of there so we can get that, even if we don't get it, just to get it sloped back so it's not so vertical. If we can get it sloped back a little bit, it would be, that would be a huge benefit to the people that travel on that road.
I do it every day. Know it well.
Yeah, and you're fortunate you have a small car. You have a bigger car, it's a lot tougher. Anything else?
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks,
Okay,
Mike.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, good.
Do you want to entertain a question from?
Mike had any idea about the 22 paving?
No, that's state.
Actually, I did,
Gentlemen, if you're gonna speak, you have to do it in front of the mic so everyone can hear what's going on. But Mike has nothing to do with Route 22 paving. It's supposed to take place at some point in time this year, according to them. And it's the portion pretty much in front of like Red Rooster. So I think it's done like to the Shell station to 312 is the portion they're gonna be doing. They're doing this way as well, south, but I don't know what the timetable on that is.
Could I ask Mike a question about a different road?
Yeah, Mike?
Sorry. Guinea Road.
yes.
A friend of ours talked to my wife in the supermarket and said she was sideswiped on it. And because it is such a narrow road, but is that our road or is that, we share that with North Salem?
Guinea Road, we share that with North Salem, and unfortunately, the portion that North Salem has is the piece that's under 84 that comes to right where it gets really narrow.
Yeah.
So their section of the road is the nice big wide section, and we have one very, very bad section of road there, and it's right where that house is, right on the edge of the road. And now we have an issue. At 5 in the morning when I'm out looking at the roads, it's very hard. There's a car that actually parks,
Yeah.
where that
alongside.
house is.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to get through there. I don't know whether there's anything. There's a guardrail on the other side. We may have to pursue looking at talking to the landowner of whoever owns that piece of property, and see if there's a possibility that we may be able to purchase a piece, or they would donate us a piece of property there.
Is that the town, the southeast, or is that North Salem?
No, that's southeast. Unfortunately, when you come up from 84, as soon as that road gets narrow, that's right where the town of Southeast starts. So that real bad section,
Right.
just before you get to the generator place there, that's ours, and it's been an ongoing issue. So because that house is so close to the road, the only really option that we would have is we would have to contact the landowner to the east side, I would say,
Yeah.
closest to 684, and see if we could acquire some of that land and widen that road. And it would not be a big deal to widen that road. We have the material to do it. It would just be a matter of widening that road and putting a new guardrail in.
It really slopes down though, pretty.
Yeah, but
pretty
we have enough material that we could fill that in, and even if you gain 3 feet, if you gain 3 feet through there, that would be a huge improvement.
Is there any, I guess, that's another candidate for a line of some sort?
Yeah, but the unfortunate thing is
That's-
you can't stop in the middle of the road, halfway through the road, and stop putting the line there, because you would never get the 9 feet required. We're right in that narrow section.
And did you said something about maybe a single yellow? Is that a
It's a
possibility?
possibility. I have to measure it to make sure that it's the same thing. Even with the single yellow, we still have to have the
The
9
9
foot,
feet?
the 9 foot wide. So,
It's almost just as a guide for motorists,
Yeah.
You better be on this side because.
yeah,
Okay, thanks, Mike.
yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll make a motion now to go into the regular portion of the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, first one, resolution adopting local law number 2 of 2020, amending chapter 18-26, Town of Southeast Code of Ethics and Financial Disclosure Law. Now therefore be resolved that the Town Board of Town of Southeast hereby adopts local law number 2 of 2020 pursuant to the Municipal Home Rule Law to amend chapter 18, paragraph 18-26 of the Town Code to delete the reference to members of the Southeast Industrial Development Agency, IDA, as town officials as required to financial disclosure statements due to the fact that the Southeast IDA is no longer in existence. And be further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized and directed to A, enter said local law in the minutes of this meeting in the town code book of the town of Southeast, and B, give due notice of the adoption of said local law by filing such with the Secretary of State of New York with the time required by law. So move for discussion.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Number 2, resolution adopting local law number 3 of 2020, amend chapter 103, article 2, section 103-8, permit fees. Now therefore be resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Southeast hereby adopts local law number 3 of 2020 pursuant to the Municipal Home Rule Law to amend chapter 103-8, paragraphs C, D, and F, and the Town Code to allow for certain vendor permits to run annually on a fiscal year basis from the date the permit is issued, and be further resolved that the town clerk be and is hereby authorized and directed to A, enter said local law in the minutes of the meeting in the code book of the town of Southeast, and B, give due notice of the adoption of said local law by filing such with the Secretary of State in New York within the time required by law. So move for discussion.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Number 3, resolution supporting the Emergency First Responders Privacy and Protection Act, which means State Assembly 7280/A.09107, and that's the Assembly Bill. Now therefore be resolved that the Town Board hereby encourages all members of New York State Assembly to support S 7280/A.09107, the Emergency First Responder Privacy Protection Act, and be further resolved that certain copies of the resolution be forwarded to Governor Cuomo, Senator Harkin, Assemblyman Byrne, County Executive Odell, Town Supervisors of Carmel, Kent, Patterson, Phillipstown, and Putnam Valley, as well as the mayors of the Village of Brewster, Cold Spring, and Nelsonville. Just so the people know, let me read some of this, what's happening with the whereas. New discovery law reform laws were passed in 2019-2020 New York State budget that overhauled the discovery process, requiring an expedited timeline to provide materials such as police reports, radio transmission, body-worn and dash cam video, along with other data related to prosecution. And whereas the current law protects law enforcement personnel by allowing their personal identification information to be excluded from discovery document and records, but not include protections for first responders who in many instances provide services at crime scenes. And whereas ambulance services personnel, advanced life support first response services, certified first responders, firefighters, emergency medical technicians, or advanced emergency medical technicians are employed by or enrolled members of such service should also have their personal identification information protected from discovery, so they're not subject to retaliation or witness tampering, and now therefore be resolved. And this is good for them and everyone. It's kind of like a pull over to be safe type thing, which they pass, on something else. Anything with a flashing light is like an emergency vehicle. This protects them from, possible lawsuits. Discussion.
I'll second for discussion.
Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Number 4, resolution life storage, 1639, 1641, Route 22, bond establishment. Now therefore be resolved that the bond amount is hereby established for the project set forth below. Project name, Life Storage Commercial Site Plan. Bond amount, site improvements, $195,000. Erosion and sediment control, $21,700. And be further resolved that a certified copy of this resolution shall be transmitted by the town clerk to the applicant, planning board secretary, and building inspector forthwith. So move for discussion.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Next is a motion to set a public hearing to amend Chapter 123, 138, and A 143, Section 123-3, Policy Section 123-6, Definitions, etc. for curbing. And that public hearing will be for Thursday, March 19th. So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the other is a motion to set a public hearing for 577 North Main Street, the project here early this evening for a special permit. Same date, March 19th. So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Recognition of the public. Town board members.
We're going to have Earth Day cleanup on the weekend of April 25 and 26. So we'll have more information at later meetings and also on the website. So, and also I attended a village board meeting last night, and of interest is they're going to have a public hearing on March 19th to discuss raising the water rates between 20 and 25%. The last rate increase was in 2016, which was 4 years ago. So there are some town members or town southeast homes that have water that is from the village. So I wanted everyone to know this and attend the meeting if you care.
You know, what's it, is it a public hearing?
It's a public hearing on March 19th, Wednesday.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
It can't
March
be-
18th.
Yeah. I was gonna say,
March 18th.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to talk about geese for a minute. I was asked to mention it. John, I believe you're going to meet with these people soon. They're going to help do something with the geese here in the town. The town has taken some non-lethal precautions for this year, options, and some of what we plan to do now. There's town parks, which is the Pump House Road, Tenetta Lake. We have the same ball fields at Pump House Road, Volunteer Park, Scalpino Park, Markel Park, Electric Zone Field. The priority, of course, will be Tenetta Lake because of what the geese have been doing on the beach and to the lake itself. I think the second priority then would be Scalpino Park because the geese have their nesting there. The town currently employs a geese chaser, that's what we call them. The morning round is done by town employees, and then we have a part-time employee who goes out every evening that chases the geese. But that's only good for about maybe an hour, and they come back. So in the morning and afternoon. So we're going to continue with the geese chaser. Has to help, can't hurt. This year we're going to be out on the eggs. Air Southeast, which will be piloted by Mr. Larka. We have to apply for, we have a drone, and we have to get a permit. So Eric is a designated fly captain to start, and I want to be the colonel at some point in time, so I want to take over, but I can't drive a drone. Anyway, we'll be out on eggs, and we'll fly the drone over the area. And this time it's going to be a lot better, because in the past it's very difficult to find their nest, but if you fly a drone over it, you'll be able to find out where they are, and we'll probably be 85% successful locating. At the beach itself, there's an area of the beach which the Recreation Department had long wished for something to be done. I didn't hear about it until we were talking about the geese problem. And we're putting up some permanent fencing on probably half of the beach. Now, when I say the beach, I say, why would you do that? Well, there's an area of the beach to the left and to the right, about 300 feet, about 250 feet on one side, 50 feet on the other side, that is very difficult for the lifeguards to police and watch, because again, there's over 600 feet of shoreline. And the beach itself is about 300 square feet where the sand is. So where the non-sandy portion of it is, it drops off really fast. Like, you know, at the beach, it goes in and you wade in, and the other ones you drop off and almost go probably over your head in certain areas. So we're going to fence off a portion of that. I don't know why the geese won't, well, I know one reason they won't walk up the areas that we're going to be fencing in, because it's steep and they can't really get there. But we're doing it for the protection of the children and go to the beach, and it'll make it easier for the lifeguards to watch what goes on. We're getting what they call bird repellent scare tape. Now, all it is, it's a reflector tape. It's like this here. You hang it down, streamer, like about that big. We're going to make like a T, hang some of that. We have reflective bird spinners. They're a disc about this big, they're colorful, they have sparkles to them, and the action, they have bills at the bottom of it. That's supposed to scare them away. Now, we did a lot of research on this to try non-lethal weapons. Sometimes the internet says it's good, some say that it's bad, it doesn't work, don't waste your money. We're trying everything. It doesn't cost a lot of money to try them, so we're going to exert all efforts to do it. And something called Goose Stopper. Now, I understand down in North Salem, I talked to the highway superintendent down there, Ward Hannenberg. He said he's been very successful for the past 2 years with something called Goose Stopper. It's a liquid, it's a concentrate, it costs $126 a gallon. It does approximately 40,000 square feet of space. Now, we have quite a few fields. We're going to try it this year and see what happens. And with that, I know some people said they want to help, and there's not a lot some people can do, because again, chasing the geese maybe, addling eggs we'll take care of. I'd like to thank the Tenetta Lake Advisory Board, because they've volunteered to help with the addling on the eggs this year. But one thing the town will do, especially the ones that want to keep these as non-lethal method, how about some donations? We'll accept donations, make it out to the town of Southeast, and in the memo section, non-lethal means, if you'd like to make a donation, help offset the cost, it's going to run the town approximately $3,000 to $4,000 to implement these issues now. If they find out they work, especially the Goose Stopper at $126 a gallon, it's going to take a lot of gallons to do that. Not going to break the bank, but if we can get some extra help from those that want to help and keep the non-lethal means, we'll accept it. And also, I'm going to ask maybe the town to ask the county to implement a pet waste and feeding of waterfowl law. It's being proposed currently in Suffolk County, which would prohibit people from feeding, these waterfowl and things of that nature. I downloaded these, so I'll bring that up at the next meeting and ask that we maybe forward that to the county and ask them to consider it. If they don't consider it, I'd like to consider it here in the town of Southeast. There would be a penalty if it feed the geese. I was just up today up by the post office. It used to be Power Fasteners. I'm not sure what it's called today, but it was probably about 40 geese up there already feeding up there, and it's amazing. It's a very light winter, so they're back very early this year. And I know people that feed them, especially on the Tenetta Lake area, the ones that should not be feeding them, they are feeding them. And we're going to ask those people in Tenetta Lake especially, stop feeding the geese.
The Goose Stopper is organic materials, right? It's nothing
No, it's not harmful.
harmful. And also, I think you also said something about putting posts on the beach at Tenetta and putting...
Well, I'm not going to go into all detail of
Okay.
exactly what we're going to do. We're taking a lot of precautions. In the evening, the lifeguards, before they leave, will have to take about 15, 20 minutes to set up. We're going to put stakes in the ground. Don't ask me why a geese, when they walk, that they won't walk through a string that's about this high. Maybe they're afraid they're going to get decapitated. I have no idea, but they claim it works. But instead of using that, we're going to use the tape. It's a
Right.
reflective tape.
Cool.
It blows in the wind. We got spinners. We're trying everything.
Tony, just a little off topic, but Castle Park, I get a lot of questions about the condition of it and will it be replaced? And I know from going to town meetings a few years ago, there was a plan for Barrett Hill when they pull their permit, part of their rec fee, or in lieu of part of their recreational fee, they would replace the park to our spec. And that project's been delayed, and I'm not sure why, or is that something that we could revisit and potentially renegotiate that so that we're not held up by this project?
Well, it's not that it's held up, it has to apply for the building permit. Was it, we can make a request to the developer to see if he'll do it, because at this point in time, it's almost 2 years. That, no matter what, that particular area, the way it's done this day, has to come down, because they were long ago banned by the state. And because ours pre-existing, it's kind of hanging on even by a thread. We probably, almost to the point of not even reopening. But I will send out a letter to the developer and ask him if he would consider making that change.
Okay. thank
Okay?
you.
I'll do that this week.
Appreciate it.
Anyone else?
All right, I had two things. Number one, obviously, a lot of people are concerned nowadays with the coronavirus, and there's a lot of information out there. Of course, with the internet, not all of that information is vetted and good. So I just encourage everybody who's looking for information, we do have links on the town website to the county's Department of Health page, which also links to Center for Disease Control and the federal government. So, you know, please, if you're gonna seek out information on what to do in the event of any messages, you should be doing it through vetted sources, through the government and those non-government agencies that are approved. And then the second thing on a lighter note is, as the O'Connor here, I would like to wish everyone a very happy St. Patrick's Day coming up before our next meeting. So,
Where's your green tie?
well, I've got my little green pin.
I can't even see it. And
Oh, you got green on, there you go. And green pants, very good, very good.
And again, just touching on the coronavirus, bottom line, use caution and use common sense, please. Anyone else? I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we close tonight's meeting?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming.